Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir-bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Pankajanaಭಾಯ Namo Pankajamaline Namo Pankajanitraya Namaste Pankajangrhe. So today we are reading from Canto 3, the status quo, chapter 15, which is description of the kingdom of God, text 14. So you can see my screen. Vasanti yatra purusha sarve Vaikuntha murtyaya ye nimitta nimittena dharmen aradhayam harim. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the Vaikunta planets, all the residents are similar in form to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all engage in devotional service to the Lord without desires for sense gratification. Purport: the residence and the form of living in Vaikunta are described in this verse. The residents are all like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. In the Vaikunta planets, Krishna's plenary feature as four-handed Narayana is the predominating deity, and the residents of Vaikunta Loka are also four-handed, just contrary to our conception here in this material world. Nowhere in the material world do we find a human being with four hands. In Vaikunta Loka, there is no occupation but the service of the Lord, and this service is not rendered with a purpose. Although every service has a particular result, the devotees never aspire for the fulfillment of their own desires. Their desires are fulfilled by rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. So we will welcome, first of all, everybody that has been able to join. We will go ahead with Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome, dear devotees, to this morning's Bhagavatam reading. This verse is actually really nice. It's a beautiful verse. It's a kind of fundamental to our process of bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. And therefore I'm completely unqualified, but I take this opportunity simply for my purification. So before I start, I seek the blessings of my Guru Maharaj and all of you wonderful devotees. So I may speak something of some value. So we have been reading about the exciting appearance of Varahadev, right? When he appeared to rescue Mother Earth after Hiranyaksha submerged her into the Garbhodaka ocean. And then we read how, how these two demons appeared in Mother Diti's womb and, what caused it. So at this point, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are in their mother's womb, in Mother Diti's womb. And just by being in the womb is causing havoc in the universe, right? There's a lot of darkness and calamities, and the demigods are completely bewildered, and they approach Brahma they're like, help, Lord Brahma. And so they say some beautiful prayers to Brahma, and Brahmaji then starts to explain how his sons, the four Kumaras, went to Vaikunta. And, here on, he's going to continue with what did they see in Vaikunta before they encounter Jai Vijay, the gatekeepers of Vishnu, and how, the curse happens and leading into the story of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So in this particular session, starting with yesterday's verse, Brahma is describing the kingdom of God. Okay. And yesterday's verse talked about how in the spiritual sky, the planets are called Vaikunta. Why? Because the residents of these planets are free from all anxieties. So for the planets of Vaikunta, there is no question of birth, death, old age, and disease. And therefore, they are not anxious. On the other hand, the residents of the material planet, we are always afraid of birth, death, disease, and old age. And so we are always full of anxieties, right? So in this verse, Brahma is now describing the residents of Vaikunta Loka, or, the Vaikunta-vasis, right? So he says that they are similar in form to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And very importantly, they all engage in devotional service to the Lord without desires for sense gratification. So if you think about it, essentially this verse is talking about pure devotional service, right? We know that the definition of pure devotional service is Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanamritam Anukullena Krishna Nushiranam Bhaktir Uttamam. So without any abhilasha, without any desire, right? Without any personal desire, these residents, Vaikunta-vasis, serve the Lord, right? No, desire for sense gratification or any personal motive. And that's kind of why, this verse is a little beyond, definitely not a little, but a lot beyond my league. But anyway, I'll attempt to speak something. So going into the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the residents are all like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. In the Vaikunta planets, he says, Krishna's plenary feature as four-handed Narayana is the predominating deity, and the residents of Vaikunta Loka are also four-handed, just contrary to our conception here in this material world. So yeah, in the material world, there is no human species with four hands. So then how does, how do we link this, right? How does one attain that same form of Narayan? Now, we have also learned that there are 5 kinds of liberation that the Lord grants to those that are looking for mukti. And in this particular verse, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is 3.29.13, I saw that those 5 kinds of mukti, and of course, there's a lot that can be talked about them, but in this verse, it's very compactly described as to what are these 5 kinds of mukti. So if you look at the synonyms, we'll get the feel for it. So salokya means the kind of liberation which allows a living entity to live on the same planet, salok, on the same planet as the Lord. Sarshti is enables, grants the living entity the same opulence as the Lord. And then there's samipya, which is allows the living entity to be a personal associate, stay around the Lord. And then there is sarupya, which is having the same bodily features as the Lord, which is kind of what this is talking about, or this verse is talking about, that this Vaikunta Loka residents have the same bodily features as the Lord. And then there's ekatvam, or what is also called as sayujya mukti. We hear a lot about sayujya mukti, where the demons received sayujya mukti. Now, one thing to note is, it's basically merging, becoming one with the Lord. And this kind of mukti is actually an absolute no-no, for a devotee as such, right? Devotees do not desire sayujya mukti. Mayavadis, on the other hand, are, look for this kind of mukti. So those are the 5 kinds of liberation. But what is this verse saying? This verse is actually saying, if you look at the translation, that a pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. So whether it's salokya, sarshti, samipya, sarupya, ekatva, none of them is desired by a devotee, even though they are offered by the personality of Godhead. Okay. So then the question comes, and you all know, but just to kind of recheck our memory, what is the kind of mukti that a devotee looks for? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually has given us, as his when he appeared as a devotee, right? He has taught us the kind of mukti, or what is it that a devotee should be looking for, right? So it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya, it says, Nadhanam najanam na sundarim kavitam vajagadisha kamai mama janmani janmanishwara bhavatad bhaktir ahaitu vidhai. So it says that, O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. So a pure devotee, does not even ask that, take me back from this material world, take me, not even back to Godhead, really. So by saying life after life, Janmani, Janmanish, Mahaprabhu, as a devotee and teaching us, he's saying that I don't even care where I am. And birth after birth literally means in this material world. Because in the spiritual world, and we just learned, right, there is no birth, death, so there is no kunta of birth and death. So Mahaprabhu is actually, saying and teaching us that wherever it may be that the Lord wants us, as long as one can remember the lotus feet of the Lord, Bhavatada Bhakti Rahaituki. And so again, that same Anyabhilashika or Ahaituki, without any motive, without any personal desire. He wants to continually offer devotional service to the Lord, wherever he is. Right? So that is the desire of a pure devotee. Actually, the first time I heard this from, in one of Prabhupada's lectures, that Prabhupada is looking for something like this, that he would be fine to come back to the material realm. That really threw me off. I mean, he actually says that he's happy to come back even to some of the lower planets, right, to perform his service, which is liberating the fallen. So as a neophyte, which I continue to be, I was like, wait a minute. I thought BTG, right? Back to Godhead is our only goal. But what is this that Prabhupada is asking for? Right? And how do I understand this? So anyway, by grace of our gurus and Srila Prabhupada's little bit of reading that I've started to do this since then, I have some understanding of why. But of course, I'm nowhere close to thinking that way, right? I'm more aligned with Srila Prabhupada's other example, where he equates this material world to a toilet, right? And he says, finish your business and just get out of here. That's what I'm more aligned with. But anyway, coming back to this verse, Prabhupada is in the purport, he continues that in Vaikunta Loka, there is no occupation but the service of the Lord. And this service is rendered without a purpose. So no occupation but service of the Lord, that sounds kind of attractive, right? Especially since we've been learning that the Lord is he's so loving and he's so compassionate. So it's not like we're talking about serving like autocrat like Saddam Hussein or something, where he's the Lord and he's all in all. It's serving the Lord, serving Krishna, who's so loving and compassionate. So actually serving the Lord without any other occupation sounds kind of dreamy and nice, equate it to the deity service that we do. And then in Tulsi Puja, that's exactly what we sing, right? Braje Radha Krishna Shiva Pavo Eyo Hilashi. So, that's our Abhilasha, right? That we can serve Radha Krishna in Braja. So, now, of course, that also means, there are a few other benefits tagged to it, right? It means you don't have to look for a job, you don't have to go to the office every day, deal with different kinds of people on this corporate politics, deadlines, etc. But doing the service without purpose, that sounds really far-fetched for a person like me. So Srila Prabhupada continues. He says that although every service has a particular result, the devotees there never aspire for the fulfillment of their own desires. Their desires are fulfilled by rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. Now, in the material world, generally, all service is rendered to get something in return, like whether it is remuneration, by way of a salary, stocks, whatever not. And then, even if it is, if not something physical, at least for praise, right? At least for recognition, some kind of aggrandizement. Now, we know that in this material world, probably, a mother's love for one's child, and the service that a mother does for a child comes closest, to the selfless service that is being talked about here. Right? Even then, there are some elements of contamination in the future when the kid grows up and whatnot. But mostly in this material world, it's all about, anything we do is what's in it for me, right? That's what we think about. What's in it for me? It's always me in the center. But in the spiritual world, which is 3/4 of the cosmic creation, we are learning and we know, but again, learning this verse that the living entities serve the Lord without any desire for personal gain, without any desire for personal gain. And their desire is, in fact, aligned with the Lord's desire. Right? In fact, later, as I was reading, ahead a little bit, I was quite surprised to know that that the women, and we'll come to it in a few days, is that the women of that world are extremely beautiful, very attractive. Yet their husbands are not really attracted or not desirous of them. Why? Because they are so absorbed in Krishna, so that they're not even desirous of their wives. Compare that to this material world, right? It's Maithunagar. We know that, right? And the situation of Maithunagar is getting worse and worse as time goes by. Even in India, things are just going downwards, from that sense. So there is one wonderful verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which actually beautifully explains how one can progress towards that pure devotional service, without that sense of, self sense gratification and desire, always to fulfill our own desires, right? So, and it is kind of similar to what the Vaikunta-vasis are rendering. So that one is, this one. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchyate. So if we focus just on that rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchyate part, right? So rishikena means by using our senses, we perform. So use our senses, but what do we perform? We perform rishikesha sevanam. That is, we serve Rishikesha. And Rishikesha is the master of the senses, right? We know that. And it says that is bhakti uchyate. That is called bhakti. So very simplified description, right? A very simplified definition of bhakti. Rishikena, Rishikesha sevanam. So, in fact, Prabhupada in one of his lectures says that it's not Rishika sevanam. Rishika means our senses. So, it's not that we gratify our senses. In fact, when we gratify our senses, it's called Maya. But when the Lord's senses are intended to be gratified, that is called bhakti. So again, fairly simple to understand, although how to actually do it is as they say, a totally different ball game, right? Again, totally beyond my league. But then I was listening to one of Prabhupada's lectures, and I kind of, what gives me hope is the instruction that he gave in particular, in relation to this. And this was one of his lectures from Nectar of Devotion. I'll see if I can if I can play that soundbite. Let me know if you're able to hear.
Rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate.
Can you hear?
Bhakti,
Yes.
it is very simple thing. Our relationship with Krishna is natural. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivangsha Jivavu. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, our only duty is to serve Krishna. That is natural. There is no question about it. Part and parcel means helping the whole. As we have several times explained, that this finger is the part and parcel of my body. So it is the duty of the finger always serve the body, whole body. It has no other occupation. As soon as I desire, finger, you come to this place, immediately it comes. Finger, you come to this place, immediately it comes.
So, Prabhupada, so simply, right? He's, He's explaining just as a finger is a part of the body and listens to you, that's how we have to constantly think of ourselves. Now, of course, we all know this, right? We've heard this many times, but again, it just helps to reiterate and remind. At least helps me to remind myself. So then, what does that mean, right? So basically, with the help of submission to Guru, we have to remember these little simple messages and keep endeavoring, right? Keep endeavoring with utsaha and dharya, so that we can get to that natural state of ours, right? Which is to serve Krishna. That's natural. I mean, everything else is material and contamination and conditioning, so many other things. So we just need to get back to that nature of ours. Because really, if you think about it, if you visualize Vaikunta and the way everybody's serving Krishna without any motivation, self-motivation, any need for sense gratification, and we want to go back there, right? Just even logically speaking, if I were to go back there, the state that I'm in, I would be a rotten apple there, right? And with the possibility of contaminating everyone else. So just logically speaking, Krishna cannot allow that, right? So we have to come back to our natural state. We have to come back to that state where we align our desires with that of the Lord. So we just have to continue to endeavor, right? To depend on the Lord, depend on Guru, and continue to try to get there, right? And then, of course, we've also heard again and again that just having an intense desire to please the Lord is half the job done, right? Because Krishna and Mahaprabhu are so compassionate that they will help us along the way. We just have to have the desire. Yogakshemam bahamyaham. Right? So all we need to do is Janatana Prakarena Mana Krishna Nivesha. Right? And again, it's not easy, but keep bringing us, we have to keep bringing us back to that state. And, like we sing in Guru Puja, right? Guru Mukha Padma Bhakta Chitete Kuriyaika Arna Kuri Homo Nimyasha. So, listen to that Vakya of the Guru, and then there's no need to desire for anything else. Because, with the prasad, with whatever we get, Shri Prasade Pure Sharvasha, from our spiritual masters, we get, everything that we need for our desires. So, yeah. So anyway, I mean, there's so much to speak about, of course, pure devotional service, so many angles, so much our acharyas have talked about, and how to achieve it. And that's basically what, fortunately for the few of us, that have come in contact with the movement, and that has become our life. So, yeah, and so there's, so much to talk about it, but I've tried to take some messages, some points, and encapsulate it within this 30 minutes. Because while all of us know all of this, right? But, again, a reminder helps me. So I thought that's what I would do. And, wish all of us all the best with converting our attitude from what's in it for me to, let's do it for Krishna. Right? So let's make that our theme. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll end with that. Sorry if I misspoke anything. Please add or correct your thoughts, your realizations, what are you doing to get you, towards that attitude of the Vaikunta-vasis. If you want to share, anybody?
Hare Krishna. Cintamani Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Hearing from a pure devotee in Ekadashi morning. That is all. That helps. That's what I am thinking. Very wonderful class. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So, and of course, fundamental to all of this is association of the devotees.
Yes.
Keep us on the right track, and so grateful to have your association.
And that's what I'm so fortunate to have your association. That's what I'm thinking. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Any sharings? Any?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much. Just makes us realize that we have so much work to do. I think it's good to kind of get those reminders here and there, just so we refocus ourselves, replan what we are doing, analyze our own situation, and then see what we can do to stay and continue this path in a better way. So yeah, there was a lot of thought that goes after your class. Thank you so much.
Yes, and we are all, we need to kind of stay together and stay at
Yes. Yes, hold each other's hand and, just come along together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, so we are 6 minutes over, so we will stop here then. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Panchakalpatarupascha Vipasantavascha Patitanam Pavanam Vaishnava. Hare Krishna.